Alright, so here's this other test. It's called LeftValues. It's basically like a test for it's basically a communist test. It's not even really like a liberal type of thing. It's like strictly like a communist values type of test. I guess I'll just do it just for fun. I don't fucking know. But yeah, you can tell what I mean from these pictures and like the names. It's pretty obvious. It's yeah. So there's the revolution part, which is basically like how like the extent to which you care about like achieving goals and like achieving power through like liberal means, like through current day type means, like and all that, like how things currently work, versus revolution where it's not like that, and it's pretty clear what that would be like. Kind of, well, not what it would be like, but scientific is how cool and I don't know, like deep your analysis of things is, I guess. Or not. The scientific part is basically how similar you are to Marxism, I guess, instead of like, as opposed to just kind of doing whatever, I suppose. Um, there's uh, central versus decentral, which is um, basically like somewhere between like, I don't know. Well, you can kind of tell what this means. It's like how much a small amount of people have power versus how much a big amount of people have power, like how centralized power is. International versus national. This is basically talking about like cooperation between countries and like linking up together. And yeah, it's basically just nationalism versus not nationalism. Party versus union. This is pretty obvious. This is just the party versus workers unions. Um, Production versus nature. That's obvious. Conservative versus progressive. That's just how racist versus anti-racist you are. Well, that's not entirely what it is, but you know. Okay, click here to start. There's 72 questions. National libertarian. Oh my fucking god! What did I just say? National liberation or self-determination for all peoples, a good concept. Um, sure. I would rather countries not be reliant on other countries or like oppressed by other countries. So sure. Oppressed people have the right to engage in a violent uprising when all other options have been exhausted. Well, the other options don't even have to be exhausted, but sure. Human population growth must be curbed to prevent ecological disaster. I don't really know anything about climate change, but I'll just say neutral. Reforming capitalist society to achieve better rights for workers is desirable. Fuck no. I don't care about that. Because it's a waste of time. It's a distraction. It's a waste of effort. It's just pointless. Um, like why would a communist care about voting in order to reform capitalism? Like what is you're just taking time and like you're just wasting political efforts on voting and supporting enemies. That's what you're doing. We must radically alter our food consumption in order to limit the exploitation of nature. I don't know. World Socialist Republic is a realistic and desirable goal. Sure, but this people are gonna assume this is like some weird ass 1984 type thing. Trade unions and workers' councils should form the basis of socialist society. I guess I'll slightly disagree. The reason I say disagree is because like it's kind of saying that like socialism should be done mostly by like unions and like little tiny little fucking organizations, which like sure you can have that like local stuff, but like there's not much cohesion to that. It's just kind of random. A lot of people are not going to be that educated. You kind of need people that are educated and know what the fuck they're doing. Um, some small scale destruction of nature is acceptable if it notably benefits humanity, I guess. Centrally planned economy based around computers is a concept worth investigating, I guess. It is foolish to expect renewable energy sources to be able to replace fossil fuels. I kind of doubt that. I doubt that it's foolish. Personal motor vehicles should be replaced with free transport. Yes. It would be less dangerous, it would be less costly, it would be less um environmentally disastrous. Um make things less annoying. Redistributing wealth away from the wealthy through taxes is a viable way of defeating inequality. Like you can do that like when communists achieve power, I guess they could like do that at the beginning, but fuck no. That's that's not really something to focus on. The establishment of socialism is a gradual process rather than an instant or rapid one. I would say slightly disagree. Like the reason I say disagree kind of is because like I feel like the gradual process thing is like I don't know. I just don't like the idea of being like this could imply like, "Oh, you vote for liberals and then the liberals magically fucking turn into communists out of nowhere, which would never happen because why the fuck would that happen? They don't believe in anything. Why would they become communists? Why the fuck would you do that? That doesn't make sense. Like how the fuck does voting for Biden, how does that like help communism? Like it's just a waste. It's a waste of resources, it's a waste of time. It's a distraction. It takes away from actually good ideas and movements. It's you're just giving your power away. This is like a big argument among communists is if you should vote for liberals or not in the meantime. This is just really stupid. Why would you vote for liberal? Like their logic is that you should vote for liberals until communism becomes popular and then you vote for communists. Like how the fuck does that make any sense? I don't even have to explain why that doesn't make sense, but I will. The reason that communists voting for liberals instead of communists, like the reason that's dumb is because they like you're saying that you should vote for liberals until liberals are less popular than communists. What the fuck kind of logic is that? The establishment of socialism is a gradual process rather than instant rapid one. So yeah, I'd say I would slightly disagree with that. It kind of needs to be like a bit rapid. There's also the fact that like if it's the more rapid it is, the harder it is for like people to fight against it or like respond to it or whatever you want to call it. But it should not be like ultra rapid, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know enough to really know for sure. You cannot achieve a socialist society without also making significant social progress. Like the question is kind of implying like, oh, if people hate trans people and women, you can't have communism. Like I I don't really like this. I don't know, like you can, but realistically, you're kind of not going to because bigotry is perpetuated by bourgeois propaganda. So I would say somewhat agree. From each according to their ability to each according to their needs is a good principle. This basically means um, instead of committing labor for wages that don't really have much to do with your labor, Instead of doing that, people do labor for the sake of the product of labor, and then they receive things of from other people's labor and also their own. So basically, things would be created for the sake of those things rather than being created for the sake of money in order to purchase other things. And the whole point of the last thing I said is profit of capitalist class. So I would say this is a good principle because the alternative is capitalism. The international proletariat belongs to no country, fucking obviously. This is kind of like an or not oxymoron. This is like the art, I don't know. The state can be best defined as a monopoly on violence and oppression. Kind of. I guess yeah, sure. I'll somewhat agree. Prisons are oppressive. Well, okay, so the point of a state is it's that obviously, but it's also a way to organize things. It's not just violence and oppression and violence and oppression. It's also just organizing things, which a part of that is violence and oppression, but that's not all it is. It's like a tool of managing things. It's like an organization that manages stuff. It's not just fucking destroying everything in your path. That's not what the state is for, really. Um, Prisons are oppressive and antiquated institutions that need to be abolished. I would say somewhat disagree. A lot of people say that eventually there's not going to be prisons in like some communist utopia. There's not going to be prisons. Well, you kind of have to have prisons because where the fuck are you going to put people? Like there are people who just want to hurt others. That you have to have prisons no matter what. There's a lot of people who would disagree, be like, well, actually, capitalism makes people fucking blah, blah, blah. Like, well, sure, but there are crazy people, and not just crazy people, but people who mean bad. Like, a lot of people are just bad. Like, you can't just get rid of prisons. There's never going to be a time where you can just completely get rid of the entire concept of prisons. Experimental, environmentally friendly food sources like cultured meat are worth investing in. Well, obviously. Democratic centralism is an authoritarian organizational structure that disregards the masses. I guess I would maybe slightly agree. Revolutionary violence is acceptable as long as the final outcome is positive, obviously. Basically, everyone would agree with this, unless they're like some Hillary supporter. I would be willing to sacrifice economic resources in my home country in order to help other countries, sure. Because it can have net benefit for like everyone. Measures to address environmental issues are unacceptable, blah blah blah. Not really. Social democracy is a betrayal of left wing values. Of course it fucking is. Social democracy is just, we have capitalism, but you have healthcare. Cool. The government should be capable of assigning individuals to workplaces. I somewhat agree. Because in communism, I feel like you would kind of have to do that. Just a little bit. You could do that without it being, like, annoying or whatever. Like, I don't know. You can kind of do that without it being really an issue. But, I don't know. Like, eventually you wouldn't really have to do that. So, I don't know. Climate change is a major global threat that all socialists must fiercely combat. I don't know. I guess I'll say agree. The leadership of political parties in the progression towards socialism will lead to authoritarianism. Fuck no. If you don't have political parties leading socialism, then you have nothing. Like, you can't just culture your way into communism. You can't just be like, hey guys, let's get rid of private property and just do all the shit that we can, blah blah blah. Like, that's not gonna fucking work. You're not gonna have military if you do that. You're not gonna be able to respond to danger. You're not gonna be able to like have cohesion. It's just gonna be a mess. Global socialist movement should be led by a single party organization. Not global because that's kind of stupid. Well, like you can it's not really necessary, so I'd say neutral. It is possible to peacefully convince the ruling class to conform to a socialist society. Obviously fucking not. Socialism can be fully achieved in developed industrial societies. Oh, can only. Socialism can only be fully achieved in developed industrialized societies, yes. How the hell are you gonna do communism if you're a bunch of idiots that live in the middle of nowhere on farms? That's literally impossible. Fucking completely impossible. Um, Abortion is an immoral act that should be banned or significantly limited. Fuck no. Basically, forcing people to create children. That's basically what abortion bans are. The progression or the oppression of LGBTQ people is bad. Yes, I agree. Nationalism. Okay, so yeah, let me go back to this and talk about it. So yeah, once a pretty good party achieves power, they need to basically do everything possible to destroy bigoted movements. Like once they achieve power, they should just fucking throw every goddamn conservative in prison, or at least conservative pundits and politicians and such. They deserve it. Not just like economically, but also in terms of like cultural nonsense, like hating on trans people for no fucking reason. Yeah, these people definitely deserve to be thrown in fucking prison for making scapegoats out of trans people and gay people. Um, Fuck these people. They should be annihilated. Nationalism and patriotism are impulses that are unacceptable in a socialist society. Not 100%, but I would say agree. Like, I just don't see the point. I care about ideas. I don't care about, like, yeah, I don't know. I'll say strongly agree, sure. Socialist organizations are generally better off when organized loosely and decentrally. Maybe disagree. Like, I'm open to it and stuff, and, like, you can have a little bit of that, but I don't know. Policies that enable mass immigration are naive and should not be implemented. I don't see what the hell the issue is. All somewhat disagree. Total economic and social equality is realistically possible. Wait, let me go back. Yeah, I don't really care if people immigrate. Like, yeah, I guess I'll say strongly. Okay, total economic and social equality is realistically possible to achieve. I would say kinda. I would say strongly agree, kinda, sorta. In underdeveloped societies, a centrally planned economy is the best way to make rapid progress. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. An economy is generally designed better when it's organized bottom up rather than top down. Um, I don't know. I'll say neutral. Revolution is the best way of achieving a social society. Sure. Um, Basically, what this means is like there's reform versus revolution. Reform is basically like, oh, you vote the same way that we do, and you just kind of go along with the law and how government currently works and how elections work, and you go along with that until you achieve your goals, blah 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 blah, and then you do socialism, blah blah blah. Whereas revolution would be more so like you have a movement and then you have a party and then you destroy everything in your path. That's basically what that is. So sure. Um And I think that's justified because um the capitalist class has like power and they can just keep preventing communists from having any kind of influence, and they also lie constantly about communism. Um Nobody knows what capitalism is, nobody knows what communism is, so yeah. Capitalism will induce its own demise through contradictions that result in crisis. Fuck no. Strongly disagree. I think Marx it kind of implied this would happen. I'm not sure as to what extent he thought that, but it's pretty obvious that capitalism is not going to destroy itself and inevitably lead to communism without anyone doing anything. Like you, it's not gonna just destroy itself organically. Mass spontaneous actions are more effective than carefully planned actions. Absolutely fucking not. Foreign officials have no right to dictate policy in another country. Yeah, kinda. I guess I'll say strongly agree. The main means of production, such as factories and farms, must be publicly owned. Yeah, obviously, that's the whole point. It is acceptable for humanity to suffer to some notable extent in order to preserve the natural ecosystem. I guess. It is necessary to establish a dictatorship of the proletariat as a transitionary stage between capitalism and socialism. Yeah. Basically, all this means is dictatorship of the proletariat basically just means a powerful state that um sort of does not allow for capitalist political parties to really exist. The negative consequences of a revolution generally outweigh the advantages. Um, no. It's kind of a weird thing. Open borders between like minded socialist countries is desirable, obviously. Socialist revolution is made inevitable by the conditions of capitalism. I guess. Kind of. Like, that's a little different than the thing that it said earlier. Um, yeah, marriage is fucking stupid. Highly centralized planned economy is not socialism, but rather state capitalism. No, not really. Workplace democracy within capitalism is an acceptable alternative. Fuck no. Workplace democracy is basically, oh, you have capitalism, except it's owned by except the companies give profit to the people that work there. Like, fuck no. Important to implement extensive environmental protections as a part of achieving socialism, I guess. It keeps giving the same damn question or same statement. Socialist political parties should be able to participate. Or wait, what? Socialist political parties should participate in liberal democratic elections. Sure. There's not really a reason not to. Like, why the fuck would they not? Like, I guess you don't have to. I guess you can have your own things somehow. But, like, I don't see why you wouldn't, so sure, I guess they should. Like, why the fuck not? Um, Wait, what did this say? Okay. Religions should have, or they have. Basically, is it say it's saying religion's good? Fuck no. The principles. Wait, to elaborate that on that further. Religion is just stupid. It's basically like deliberate idiocy. Religion is just people being dumb on purpose, and it makes people have terrible mindsets. And it makes people with poor values behave even worse, and then people are convinced that those people are somehow righteous when they're really just a piece of garbage. Principles of workplace democracy and self management are desirable. Yeah, sure. Local planners rather than national planners are more efficient at running a planned economy. I don't know. Only a mass workers' party can achieve any meaningful long term goals. Yes. Fucking obviously. Um, yeah. Humanity must return to their primitive ways. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck no. Probably not. Class conflict is a force that has influenced much of human history, obviously. People of similar cultures should unite in federations or confederations. Very strange question. Like cultures? Like, I guess? I guess I'd say strongly agree just because, like, this kind of implies racism, but it doesn't have to. It could fucking imply anything. Like, people of similar cultures should unite in federation. Like, that doesn't really mean anything. But yeah, socialist government has no right to disrupt religious cultural traditions in any situation. I would say very slightly disagree. Traditional gender roles, such as women being homemakers, need to be overcome, obviously. Industrialized farming practices must be abolished. Um, I don't know. Maybe not. Well, if you did, like, how were you supposed to? I don't know. I guess I would say kind of disagree. Any socialist country should be dedicated to exporting their ideology abroad, obviously. The fact that many workers vote for bourgeois parties over socialist parties is proof the party politics are no longer relevant. I don't really know what this means. I don't know what the fuck this means. Like, party politics is no longer relevant. Like, I don't know what that means. This is very strange. Like, neutral, I guess? Because I don't know what that means. Like, what does this mean? Like, workers vote for capitalist parties over socialist parties. Therefore, party politics are no longer relevant. Like, what does that have to do with what? We must accept that socialist states of 20th century failed to seriously address environmental issues. They probably did. Bureaucracy and inefficiency are always inherent in centrally planned economies. I would guess so, probably. Maybe a little bit. Material conditions and needs are the dominant drive behind socioeconomic changes. Neutral. Society is chiefly driven by individuals and ideas. Not really, no. Trade unionism has been largely corrupted by the ruling class and is no longer a viable structure for socialist organization. 100%, obviously. Minority populations should receive special legal protections. Well, not really. Like, they don't really need them. You just need to not. I'll just say slightly disagree. Liberal democracy is a viable way of achieving a socialist society. Fucking obviously not. I'll talk about this a little more. So yeah, like the whole logic is, oh, communists should support liberals because they're better than people who are sort of fascists. Like, okay, why not just have a fucking communist party then? Like, why would communists support liberals in order to like as long as liberalism is a thing, fascism is always a thing. You don't just vote for liberals and then defeat fascism and then beat the liberals and do communism. Like, that's not how that fucking works. You don't defeat fascism and then do communism. You do communism and defeat fascism at the same time. That's how that works. You don't work, like, you don't support liberal parties to the detriment of communist parties for the sake of defeating fascism, because you can't unless you, like, the only way to defeat fascism would be to transition to communism for obvious reasons, because fascism is basically just a foolish ideology that exists entirely to convince foolish people to vote against worker interest, by like manipulating them into thinking that black people are bad or some stupid shit like that. It's basically, fascism is just a way to brainwash the working class. That's all it is. It's deliberate stupidity. It's intentionally bad. It's like ideological poison. So fuck no. Um, what the fuck did I just do? 88% revolutionary, 67% scientific, 51% central, 87 international. Okay, wait, let me go through these. 88% revolutionary. Yeah, that's perfectly that makes a lot of sense. 67% scientific. That makes a lot of sense. Um, partially, very slightly, mostly central. That makes sense. Um, mostly international. Yeah. Somewhat mostly party. Yep. Um, a bit biased in favor of nature over production. Sure. I don't know how the fuck it's possible to get 0% conservative. Um, Orthodox Marxism. God damn, 99 fucking. Holy fucking shit. 99.9 fucking percent? Yeah, it says I'm mostly Orthodox Marxist. Orthodox Marxism is a form of Marxism that adopts views that conform to Marxist theory as it is originally written, particularly on the topic of dialectical materialism. I didn't even really promote materialism there that much. Orthodox Marxists are highly revolutionary and internationalist, and hold that non-industrial societies are incapable of achieving socialism. So basically, Orthodox Marxism is you cannot have communism in non-industrial societies for obvious reasons. They're very revolutionary and internationalist. So it basically means they don't give a fuck about nationalism. They rely on industrialism or industrial society. And I don't know, they're more focused on like intellectualism, basically. Huh? Yeah, I'm about to grab some. All right. Um, oh my fucking god, 0% utopian socialism. 0 fucking percent. 0. Utopian socialism is a form of pre-Marxist socialism that believes in an egalitarian, moralistic, idealistic foundation for socialism. Utopian socialists reject violent revolution and believe ruling class can be convinced. Utopian socialism is basically you achieve socialism without really doing much of anything. It's like, oh, socialism good. You like kind of do socialism without any kind of warfare or revolution or any any kind of like hostility or anything. Like it's basically like, oh, everyone is just going to be in the interests of the workers somehow, which doesn't fucking make sense because there's billionaires that obviously don't care about that because of course they fucking don't. Um yeah, basically no one believes that. You could say that anarchists are sort of like that, except anarchists are revolutionary. So basically anarchists are basically the revolutionary version of utopian socialists. I don't really know what the hell market anarchism would be like. 75% anarcho communism is kind of weird, but whatever. 77% Marxism Leninism. Marxism Leninism is a form of Marxism that forged in the 20th century Soviet Union. Leninists heavily favor the use of Communist Party as platform for achieving revolution. Leninists are somewhat more nationalistic and favor industry more than environment. So it's basically just Marxism, but a little different. But it's still kind of Marxism. Um, yeah, I don't know. This was cool, I guess. Way better than the other shitty ass garbage piece of nonsense fucking test. Yeah.